3.0.0, re-insulating electrical connections. Remember, once we get done, we have to make sure that we re-insulate because we don't want these to come into contact with anything that's going to be grounded or take the place of ground. It says, describe how to insulate fabricated electrical connections. Explain how to tape electrical connections, how to install heat shrink insulation, and how to use motor connection kits. And then you may have a performance task. Taping. When it's not practical to protect a spliced joint by some other means, electrical tape may be used to insulate the joint. Joints must be taped carefully to provide the same quality of insulation over the splice as over the rest of the conductors. It's my understanding that Scotch 33 tape made by 3M, 4 wraps is good for 600 volts. That's what I've been taught. 4 wraps is good for 600 volts. So, several types of electrical insulating tape. Let me see what this is. It says adhesive tape that's been manufactured from a non-conductive material and is specifically designed for covering energized wire joints and exposed parts. The tape we're talking about is the vinyl tape. They also have a rubber tape, but it doesn't. It's used in covering motor connections, but you need to end with the vinyl tape because the rubber tape doesn't. It's sticky on both sides, basically. It doesn't have a side that you can face out. It says available to satisfy the demands of electrical applications. Some common materials include vinyl, linerless rubber, high temperature silicone rubber, and glass cloth. Here's a highlight. It says tapes made of vinyl plastic are widely used as primary insulation on joints made with thermoplastic insulated wires. They're used for splices up to 600 volts and for fixture wires spliced up to 1,000 volts. So linerless rubber splicing tape provides tight, void-free, moisture-resistant insulation. It's typically used as a primary insulation with all solid dielectric cables through 70 kilovolts, 70,000 volts. High-temperature silicone rubber tapes are used as a protective overwrap when terminating high-voltage cables. Glass cloth electrical tapes provide a heat-stable insulation for hot spot applications such as furnace and oven controls, motor leads, and switches. I'm going to highlight that sentence. That sounds like something they might ask. They're also used to reinforce insulation where heavy loads cause excessive heat and insulation breakdown, such as in motor control exciter feeds. A general procedure describing one method of taping a splice or joint is shown in Figure 36. Method for taping a splice bolt or a split bolt connector is shown in Figure 37. So when you're using this, you have to use your thumb to push out all of the air. We don't want to trap air in this splice. It takes practice, but you start with your splice, and you've taken a file and taken off any rough edges off of this, and then you start by doing a crisscross pattern around this, and then you go over the end, and then you keep going around, and you'll come back to the end, and then go back, and then when we get down to the 2 wires, we'll individually put some around it. Here they're finishing off by coming all the way back to the end and making sure that they get the end of it. Finish off the wind at the tip, going well beyond the lugs, bend back the tip and tape it back to the splice, sealing it with additional winds of tape. Here's a split bolt. These are those ones we were talking about. They've got this table, and as you tighten this bolt, it mashes these conductors, however many you put in here, 2 or 3. It's usually for big conductors. You wouldn't put number 12 wire in a split bolt. But you tighten it down, you smack it, you tighten it down, you smack it, you tighten it down. When you can't get it any tighter, then you have to start putting rubber over it. Once the split bolt connector has been installed and tightened securely on the conductors, cut pieces of filler tape and place over each side of the splice. Wrap both pieces around the connector using moderate finger pressure to shape the filler tape and to get any air out of that splice. Then we wrap the covered connector with plastic tape. And then when we're finished, we'll take some regular vinyl tape and go over the whole thing with vinyl tape. Here's electrical tape. Most non-electricians think of electrical tape as only the simple black vinyl tape found in nearly every home toolbox. Electrical tape actually comes in a wide range of colors and materials to be used for identifying various terminations. So a lot of times we'll use black, red, blue. So you've got red and blue. The wires are usually already black. And then you've got white for the neutral. If you're doing high voltage, you've got brown, orange, yellow, and gray for the neutral. And then this is for ground green. Heat shrink insulators. Heat shrink insulators for small conductors provide skin-tight insulation protection and are fast and easy to use. They're designed to slip over wires, taper pins, connectors, terminals, and splices. When heat is applied, the insulation shrinks and then becomes semi-rigid to provide positive strain relief at the flex point of the conductor. A vapor-proof band seals and protects the conductor against abrasion, chemicals, dust, gasoline, oil, and moisture. So here's a heat gun to use. Heat it. Usually you start in the middle and work your way out. You want to make sure that it's going to shrink. If you start at this end, if you get this end to stick to the insulation and then you start heating out, this end is going to shrink away and expose too much of this terminal. So you kind of want to start here at the end and get it positioned where you want the end of it. Shrink that down and then work back toward the wire insulation. Slip the insulator over the object to be insulated, then apply heat for a few seconds. See, we wanted it to end here on the terminal, so you really should start here and work back. And a lot of them have kind of a glue inside of it, and usually it's a different color. And as you heat it up, it'll ooze out, and it shows you that you have a good shrink on that tube. When it oozes out of both ends, you're assured that that's a watertight connection. When finished, it provides permanent insulation protection. So, various types of heat shrink tubing are available, including the following: PVC, polyolefin, double wall, Teflon, neoprene, Kynar. Kynar, this is a transparent, thin wall, semi-rigid tubing with outstanding resistance to abrasion. Its transparency enables easy inspection of the components. And again, here's a big table. I'm not going to go over the table. They're giving us a lot of information about a lot of different types of heat shrink. I'm not going to read that table to you. Motor connection kits. Motor connection kits are available to insulate bolted splice connections, such as those in motor termination boxes. These kits eliminate the need for taping and the use of filler tape or putty. To aid in joint re-entry during rework, the insulator strips off easily, leaving a clean bolt area and eliminating the need to remove old tape and putty. So you start with your tap or your splice. There's an inline. This is a stub. And then you put this motor termination kit over it and heat it up just like heat shrink, but one end is sealed, so it's not a tube. And start heating at the end and work your way down, and then that ooze will come out the end. Here's the inline splice. It's more of a tube or a heat shrink that will, you start at the middle, heat it up, let it get connected to it, because that ooze will actually adhere to it, and then you work your way out. Always keep that flame moving. You don't want to apply too much heat to a heat shrink or to a motor termination. It can cause it to split and actually break this heat shrink or this motor connector kit. It'll break it off. So, stub roll-on insulating cap connector. This one you don't have to heat up. It's a cold install. Always follow the kit manufacturer's recommendations when selecting and using a kit. Typically, kits are selected based on the size of the motor feeder conductors. Section 3, review the type of electrical tape used to provide a protective overall wrap of high voltage cable is what? A transparent semi-grid heat shrink insulator that provides good abrasion resistance is what? And motor connection kits are selected based on the size of the. All right, very good. Well, this concludes 26208, Conductor Termination and Splices. And as always, if you got something out of it, please give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and consider subscribing to my channel. And as always, I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Hey, this is Brian Young. If you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I'll see you on the next video.